Let's send out a note. Okay, just make sure we're live, and then we'll start. Let's see. All right, we are live. Okay, so what we're going to do, that's why I have it in this position, we're going to chant the Damodar Ashtaka first, as we normally do during this month, and then I am going to share the screen so you can see a picture of Lord Damodar. There we go. Okay, so let's chant the Damodar Ashtaka. Shimad, His Divine Grace. Caitanya bkgoswami, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anandakoti Vaishnav Vrindi ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrindi ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhana Shyam Kund Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavanam ki jai. Mathuranam ki jai. Jagannatha Swami ki jai. Yamunamai ki jai. Shrimati Lalasi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tidamani. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Vicharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatcha Dejatarni. You're right, the microphone volume is too high. I should have set it on automatic because I was doing something the other day. You were absolutely right. The microphone volume that's why it was distorted. Sorry about that. Tomorrow we'll do it differently. So, let us read the translation of this poem. To the Supreme Controller, who possesses an eternal form of blissful knowledge, whose glistening earrings swing to and fro, who manifested himself in Gokula, who stole the butter that the gopis kept hanging from the rafters of their storerooms, and who then quickly jumped up and ran in retreat in fear of Madhya Shoda, but was ultimately caught, to that Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, I offer my humble obeisances. Upon seeing his mother's whipping stick, he cried and rubbed his eyes again and again with his two lotus hands. His eyes were fearful, and his breathing quick, and his mother Yashoda bound his belly with ropes. He shivered in fright, and his pearl necklace shook. To the Supreme Lord Sri Damodar, who was bound by his devotees' love, I offer my humble obeisances. Those super-excellent pastimes of Lord Krishna's babyhood drowned the inhabitants of Gokula in pools of ecstasy. To the devotees who were attracted only to his majestic aspect of Narayan and Vaikuntha, the Lord herein reveals, I am conquered and overwhelmed by pure loving devotion. To the Supreme Lord Damodar, my obeisances hundreds and hundreds of times. O Lord, although you are able to give all kinds of benedictions, I do not pray to you for liberation or eternal life in Vaikuntha nor any other boon. My only prayer is that your childhood pastimes may constantly appear in my mind. O Lord, I do not even want to know your feature of Paramatma. I simply wish that your childhood pastimes may ever be enacted in my heart. O Lord, the cheeks of your blackish lotus face, which is encircled by locks of curling hair, have become reddened like bimba fruit due to Mother Yashoda's kisses. What more can I describe than this? Millions of opulences are of no use to me, but may this vision constantly remain in my mind. O unlimited Vishnu, O Master, O Lord, be pleased upon me. I am drowning in an ocean of sorrow and almost like a dead man. Please shower the rain of mercy upon me, uplift me, and protect me with your nectarian vision. O Lord Damodar, in your form as a baby, Mother Yashoda bound you to a grinding stone with a rope for tying cows. You then freed the sons of Kuvera, Manigriva, and Nalakuvara, who were cursed to stand as trees, and you gave them the chance to become your devotees. Please bless me in the same way. I have no desire for liberation into your effulgence. O Lord, the entire universe was created by Lord Brahma, who was born from your abdomen, which was bound with a rope by Mother Yashoda. To this rope I offer my humble obeisances. I offer my obeisances to your most beloved Srimati Radharani and to your unlimited pastimes. Lord Damodar ki jai. Okay, we'll stop sharing. Now it's too low. You can't please all the people all the time. You can only please some of the people some of the time. and not all the people. Let me turn the volume up. Okay. Okay, should be pretty loud now. That should be loud enough for everybody. Okay, so, okay, sorry about that. Volume control. Because we're not using my main computer, which has all the bells and whistles, because I'm actually in Raleigh now, the state capital, doing our programs of outreach to the university students. Okay, let's stop sharing Lord Damodar. Okay, so now we will go on to the Caitanya Caritamrta. We're reading from the 16th chapter of the Madhya Lila, and we're on text today 265, and maybe we will finish the chapter today. So, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Okay, today we're starting with 265 in the Madhya Lila, chapter 16. So let's go. Etakai amiyabe vidaya tanre dila gamanakale sanatara praheli kahila yanra sange hayahe loka lakshakoti Vrindavana yaivara enahi paripati. After speaking to them in this way, I bade them farewell. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking about his meeting Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, that's W. Kash and Shakara Malik, in Ramakeli, and also Anupama, their brother. So they were actually giving Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advice. Of course, they approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a very humble way, with a straw in their teeth. But they told Lord Chaitanya something that's very interesting, that we can also imbibe as far as our going to Vrindavan. So after speaking to them in this way, I bade them farewell. As I was leaving, Sanatan told me, it is not appropriate for one to be followed by a crowd of thousands when going to Vrindavana. Very, very interesting. And actually, I follow that when I go to Vrindavan. I stay away from the mass of people, and there's 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people with me, at most. And we enter deeply into the meditation on the Lord's pastimes. Tabuami Shunilun Natra Nakailun Abadana Pratechale Alana Kanarira Natshala Grama. Although I heard this, I did not pay it any attention, and in the morning I went to the place named Kanai Natsala. Rachikale Manayami Vichara Karila Sanatana More Kiba Prahele Kahila. At night, however, I considered what Sanatan had told me. Balata Kahila Mora Eta Loka Sange Lokadeki Kahibe More Ekadange. I decided that Sanatan had spoken very well. I was certainly being followed by a large crowd, and when people would see so many men, they would surely rebuke me, saying, here is another impostor. Durlaba Durgama Say Nirjana Vrindavana Ekakiyaiva Kiva Sange Ekajana. I then began to consider that Vrindavan is a very solitary place. It is invincible and very difficult to attain. I therefore decided to go there alone, or at the utmost, with only one person. Wow. That reminds me of when I went to Govardhan alone in the middle of the summer. There wasn't anyone there except for, of course, the people who live there and some of the people from the neighboring states in India. But there was basically no Westerner there, or if there was, I didn't see him, because it was so hot. It was 50 degrees centigrade during the day. So hot that you couldn't go out after 8 o'clock in the morning, or else it was like walking into a blast furnace. But there was nectar just going out there at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning where nobody was, and chanting the holy names in complete seclusion. And that reminds me of the story in the Srimad Bhagavatam about that young girl who wanted to get a good husband. So the story is as follows. This young girl didn't have so much money, and she understood that in order to get a good husband, she had to show herself as coming from, at least a moderately wealthy family. And of course, a moderately wealthy family always has servants. So once upon a time, that's interesting, a bunch of marriageable young men came to the house. And she thought, I should entertain them, but I don't have any servants. What am I going to do? And also, this girl was really dressed to the hilt. What does that mean, dressed to the hilt? She had all these bracelets up each arm, which you sometimes see in India. So many bracelets, so it's you don't really need an instrument for kirtan when you have so many bracelets like that, because you already got your tambourines built into your body. So anyway, so she was thinking, what am I going to do? So she went into the kitchen. She didn't want those eligible, handsome young men to understand that she didn't have any servants. So what did she do? She thought, I don't want to make any noise, because if they hear this chink, 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 chink from my arms, from my bracelets, they'll understand it's me cooking for them rather than the servants, and they won't like me and won't want to get married to me. So what she did is she kept taking off the bracelets one by one. And as she kept taking them off, there was a little less chink, 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 chink. But even when there were two on each arm, there was still chink, chink, chink. And she decided, that's it, just one on each arm. Boom. And then no more chink, 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 chink. Why? Because there's only one. There was nothing for it to rub against. Like if you have one bracelet on your arm, it's not going to rub against your skin and make any sound. So the moral of the story is, that's why the story was told in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The moral of the story is that when there's two people, there's chink, 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 chink. When there's three people, there's chink, 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 chink. Four people, more chinking. So sometimes for spiritual life, it's very good to just be really focused. Of course, I'm not suggesting that people go alone to Vrindavan. It's not a good idea. They should generally go with a group of people who are more experienced. That's very important. But we all need some QT, quality time, to be able to be absorbed in Krishna's holy names, especially during this Kartik month. Okay, so let's continue. Madhavendra Puri Tata Gela Hikeshvare Dugdadana Chale Krishna Sakshat Dila Tandre. All right. Madhavendra Puri went to Vrindavan alone, and Krishna, on the pretext of giving him milk, granted him an audience. We've told that story before. Badiyara Bhajapati Chalilana Tatare Bahusangi Brindavana Gamanana Kare. I then understood that I was going to Vrindavan like a magician with his show, and this is certainly not good. No one should go to Vrindavan with so many men. Ekayava Kiva Sangi Pracheka Jana Tabise Shubhoya Vrindavanera Gamana. I have therefore resolved to go alone, or at the utmost with one servant. In this way, my journey to Vrindavana will be beautiful. Vrindavana Yava Kaneka Kiana Soinya Sangi Chaliyachi Daka Vajana. I thought, instead of going to Vrindavan alone, I'm going with soldiers and the beating of drums. Dik Dik Apanake Paliha Ilana Astira Nivritahana Puna Ailana Ganga Tira. I therefore said, "Fie upon me." That's an old English expression. And being very much agitated, I returned to the banks of the Ganges. Bhakta Gane Rakiyainu Nija Nija Sthane Amasange Aila Sabe Panchachaya Jane. I then left all the devotees there and brought only 5 or 6 persons with me. Nirvigne be ache, kaiche, yaba Vrindavan he, sabe mele yukti deha, hana parasane. Now I wish that you all will be pleased with me and give me good consultation. Tell me how I shall be able to go to Vrindavan without impediments. Gadadhare Chadigenu Inho Duka Paila Sehe tu Vrindavana Yoite Narila. I left Gadadhara Pandit here, and he became very unhappy. For this reason, I could not go to Vrindavan. Tabe Gadadhara Pandita Prema Vishtahana Prabhupada Dharikaye Vinaya Kariya. Being encouraged by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's words, Gadadhara Pandit became absorbed in ecstatic love. Immediately clasping the lotus feet of the Lord, he began to speak with great humility. Tumi Yahan Yahan Raha Tan Vrindavana Tahan Yamuna Ganga Sarvatirtha Gana. Gadadhara Pandit said, "Wherever you stay is Vrindavan, as well as the river Yamuna, the river Ganges, and all other places of pilgrimage." Which is true. Wherever Lord Chaitanya is, that is as good as Vrindavan. Wherever Krishna's pure devotees like Srila Prabhupada are, that is as good as Vrindavan too. Tabu Vrindavana Yaha Lokas Shikaite Seta Karive Tomara Ye Laya Chite. Although wherever you stay is Vrindavan, you will still go to Vrindavan just to instruct people. Otherwise, you will do whatever you think best. So, it was not essential for Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to go to Vrindavan, for wherever he stayed was immediately converted to Vrindavana. Indeed, at that place were also the river Ganges, the river Yamuna, and all other places of pilgrimage. This was also expressed by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu himself when he danced at the Rath Yatra. At that time, he said that his mind was Vrindavan. Mora mana Vrindavana. Because his mind was Vrindavan, all the pastimes of Radha and Krishna were taking place within himself. Nonetheless, just to teach people, he visited Boma Vrindavana. That means Vrindavan in this world. Vrindavana in this, well, probably say the same thing. In this way, the Lord instructed everyone to visit Vrindavanam which is a very holy place. Materialists consider Vrindavan Dhama an unclean city because there are many monkeys and dogs there, and along the bank of the Yamuna there is refuse. Some time ago, a materialistic man asked me, "Why are you living in Vrindavana? Why have you selected such a dirty place to live after retiring?" Such a person cannot understand that the earthly Vrindavana Dham is always a representation of the original Vrindavana Dham. Consequently, Vrindavana Dham is as worshipable as Lord Krishna. Aradyo Bhagavan Vrajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavanam. According to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, Lord Sri Krishna and his abode, Vrindavana, are equally worshipable. Sometimes materialistic people who have no spiritual understanding go to Vrindavan as tourists. One who goes to Vrindavan with such materialistic vision cannot derive any spiritual benefit. Such a person is not convinced that Krishna and Vrindavana are identical. Since they are identical, Vrindavana is as worshipable as Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's vision, Moramana, Vrindavana, is different from the vision of an ordinary materialistic person. At the Rath Yatra festival, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, absorbed in the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, dragged Lord Krishna back to Vrindavan Dham. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke of this in the verses beginning, Ahoschate, Madhya Lila 13:136. In Srimad Bhagavatam 10:84-13, it is stated, Yashatma Buddhi Gunapetri Dhatuke Swadi Kalatrati Shubhoma Ijadi Yatirtha Buddhi Shalalena Kari Chit Janeshu Abhigeshu Saeva Gokara. A human being who identifies the body made of three elements with his self, who considers the byproducts of the body to be his kinsman, who considers the land of birth as worshipable, and who goes to a place of pilgrimage simply to take a bath rather than to meet men of transcendental knowledge, there is to be considered like an ass or a cow. Ooh. In other words, because one's absorbed in the body and things connected to the body. That's the whole thing. You know, people go to a holy place just to take a bath, or who go to their land of birth and think it's very wonderful, you know, the country or the state or the city that they were born in, they're very attached to it. That is ass and cow consciousness. Sorry for that. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally renovated Vrindavanam and advised his chief disciples, Rupa and Sanatan, to develop it and open it to attract the spiritual vision of the general populace. At present, there are about 5,000 temples in Vrindavan. And still, our society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is constructing a huge, magnificent temple for the worship of Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram, along with Radha and Krishna and Guru Gauranga. Since there is no prominent Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, we are attempting to construct one so the people will be attracted to Krishna Balaram or Nitai Gaurasundara or Gaurachandra. Vrajendra Nandana Yai Shochi Sutoila Se. And the rest of that verse is Balaram Hoila Nitai. Narottama Das Thakur says that Balaram, the son of Maharaj Nanda, have invented themselves as Gaur Nitai. To propagate this fundamental principle, we are establishing a Krishna Balaram temple to broadcast to the world that worship of Gaur Nitai is the same as worship of Krishna Balaram. Although it is very difficult to enter into the Radha Krishna pastimes, most of the devotees of Vrindavan are attracted to the Radha Krishna Lila. However, since Nitai, Gaurachandra are direct incarnations of Balaram and Krishna, we can be directly in touch with Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Those who are highly elevated in Krishna consciousness can enter into the pastimes of Radha Krishna through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It is said, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayanya. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a combination of Radha and Krishna. It's Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani, trying to understand Srimati Radharani's love for him, trying to enjoy from her perspective, and trying to see himself from her perspective, to appreciate his own beauty. Sometimes materialists forgetting the pastimes of Radha and Krishna Balaram go to Vrindavan, accept the land's spiritual facilities, and engage in material activity. This is against the teachings of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The Prakrita Sahajas proclaim themselves Brajavasis or Dhamavasis, but they are mainly engaged in sense gratification. Thus they become more and more implicated in the materialistic way of life. Those who are pure devotees in Krishna consciousness condemn their activities. The eternal Brajavasis, like Swarup Damodar, did not even come to Vrindavan Dham. Wow. That's interesting. So though they never visited Vrindavan Dham, but they were always situated in Vrindavan Dham, because Swarup Damodar Goswami, he is Lalita Devi. So, and Sri Pundarik Vijayanidhi, wow, he's the father, an incarnation or appearance of the father of Srimati Radharani. Wow. Vrishabhanu. Wow. Sri Haridas Thakur, who was Lord Brahma and also Prahlad Maharaj. Srivas Pandit, who was Narada Muni. Shivananda Sen, Sri Ramananda Roy, who was Vishaka. Sri Shiki Mahiti, Sri Malavi Devi, and Sri Gadadhar Pandit, who was actually Radharani Goswami, never visited Vrindavan Dham. Wow. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur points out that we have no authorized document stating that these exalted personalities visited Vrindavan. Nonetheless, we find many non-devotees, Mayavadi sannyasis, Prakrita Sahajas, fruitive workers, mental speculators, and many others with material motives going to Vrindavan to live. Many of these people go there to solve their economic problems by becoming beggars. Although anyone living in Vrindavan somehow or other is benefited, the real Vrindavan is appreciated only by a pure devotee. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena, Brahma Samhita 5:38. When one has purified eyes, he can see that Sri Vrindavana and the original Goloka Vrindavan planet in the spiritual sky are identical. Srila Narottama Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, Sri Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Sri Bhagwan Das Babaji Maharaj, and Srila Gaurkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and later Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Calcutta, always engaged in Nama Bhajana, and certainly did not live anywhere but Vrindavan. Of course, these devotees did visit Vrindavan, but wherever they were was as good as Vrindavan. Presently, the members of the Krishna consciousness movement, or the Hare Krishna movement throughout the world, live in materially opulent cities such as London, New York, Los Angeles, Paris, Moscow, Zurich, and Stockholm, and Raleigh, North Carolina. However, we are satisfied with following in the footsteps of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and other acharyas because we live in the temples of Radha Krishna and continuously hold Hari Nama Sankirtan, the chanting of Hare Krishna. We consequently live in Vrindavan and nowhere else. We are also following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by attempting to construct a temple in Vrindavan for our disciples throughout the world to visit. Hey Age Oila Prabhu Varshar Charimasa Hey Charimasa Kara Dilachale Vasa. Taking this opportunity, Gadadhar Pandit said, "Just now the 4 months of the rainy season have begun. You should therefore spend the next 4 months in Jagannath Puri." Bache se acharivat ye tumaramana apana itoya chala uraha ke kare varana. After remaining here for 4 months, you will be free to do as you like. Actually, no one can stop you from going or remaining. Shuni Sava Bhakta Kai Prabhuracharane Savakaricha Pandita Kailanive Tane. Upon hearing this statement, the devotees present at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stated that Gadadhar Pandit had properly presented their desire. Sabhara Ichaya Prabhu Chare Masarahila Shunya Pratapa Rudra Anandita Lila. Being requested by all the devotees, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu agreed to remain at Jagannath Puri for 4 months. Hearing this, King Prataparudra became very happy. Saidina Gadadhara Koila Nimantrana Tahan Bhiksha Kaila Prabhu Lana Bhakta Yana. That day, Gadadhar Pandit extended an invitation to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and the Lord took his lunch at his place with all the other devotees. Bhikshate Panditera Sneha Prabhura Ashvadana Manushera Shakje Dui Nayaya Varnana. No ordinary human being can possibly describe Gadadhar Pandit's affectionate presentation of food, or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's tasting this food. E Matagora Lila Ananda Para Sangshepikaye Kaha Layaya Vistara. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performs his pastimes, which are unlimited and unfathomable. Somehow or other, that means you can't understand them. Somehow or other, these have been briefly described. It is not possible to describe them elaborately. Sahasravadane kaye apane ananta tavu ekalilara tenu nahi paya anta. Although Lord Anantadeva is always describing the pastimes of the Lord with his thousands of mouths, he cannot reach the end of even one of the Lord's pastimes. Wow. So actually it looks like we're going to end the chapter. Shri Rupa Raghunatha Pade Yarahasha Caitanya Caritamrta Kahe Krishna Dasha. That's the... okay. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Raghunath, Shri Raghunath always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta, following in their footsteps. Okay, that's the end of the chapter. And then we go on to chapter 17. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrta Madhya Lila, 16th chapter describing Lord Chaitanya's attempt to go to Vrindavan. Now chapter 17 is when the Lord actually goes to Vrindavan. The Lord travels to Vrindavan. Okay? The following summary of the 17th chapter is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhasha. After attending the Rath Yatra ceremony of Sri Jagannath, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to start for Vrindavanam. Sri Ramananda Roy and Swarup Damodar Goswami selected a Brahmana named Balabhadra Bhattacharya to personally assist Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Early in the morning before sunrise, the Lord started for the town of Kataka. North of Kataka, he penetrated a dense forest and came upon many tigers and elephants, whom he engaged in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Whenever the Lord had a chance to visit a village, Balabhadra Bhattacharya would beg alms and acquire some rice and vegetables. If there was no village, Balabhadra would cook whatever rice remained and collect some spinach from the forest for the Lord to eat. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with the behavior of Balabhadra Bhattacharya. In this way, the Lord passed through the jungle of Jharkhanda and finally reached Varanasi. After taking his bath at the Manikarnika Gata at Varanasi, he met Tapada Mishra, who took the Lord to his place and respectfully gave him a comfortable residence. At Varanasi, Vaidya Chandrasekhara, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's old friend, also rendered service unto him. Seeing the behavior of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, a Maharashtrian Brahmin informed Prakashananda Saraswati, the leader of the Mayavadi sannyasis. Prakashananda made various accusations against the Lord. Phew, very bad. The Maharashtrian Brahmin was very sorry about this, and he brought the news to Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, inquiring from him why the Mayavadi sannyasis did not utter the holy name of Krishna. In reply, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu said that they were offenders and that one should not associate with them. In this way, the Lord bestowed his blessings upon the Brahmana. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu next passed through Prayag and Mathura, and then, took his lunch at the home of a Sanodiya Brahmana, a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. He bestowed his blessings upon the Brahmana by accepting lunch at his place. Thereafter, the Lord visited the 12 forests of Vrindavan and was filled with great ecstatic love. As he toured the Vrindavan forests, he heard the chirping of parrots and other birds. Wow, what a chapter. Here we go. Verse 1. Gachan Vrindavanam Goro Vyagre Vaina Kagan Vanahe Premon Matan Som Nrityan Vidade Krishna Jalpanaha. On his way to Vrindavana, Lord Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu passed through the forest of Jalakhanda and made all the tigers, elephants, deer, and birds chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and dance. Thus all these animals were overwhelmed by ecstatic love. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chandra, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of the Lord. Sharat Kala Hayela Prabhura Chalite Hayela Mati Ramananda Sarupa Sange Nibrite Yukati. When autumn arrived, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to go to Vrindavan. In a solitary place, he consulted with Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar Goswami. Mora Sahaya Karayadi Tumi Dvijana Tavi Aviyanda Deki Shri Vrindavana. The Lord requested Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar Goswami to help him go to Vrindavan. Katriye uti vada pate balana yaba ekaki yoiba kahon sangena laiba. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I shall leave early in the morning and go incognito, that means in disguise. Taking the road through the forest, I shall go alone. I shall not take anyone with me. Keha yari sangha laite pache uti dhaya sabhare rakiva yena keha nahi aya. If someone wants to follow me, please stop him. I don't want anyone to go with me. Prasanahanak adna divana maniba dukha Toma savara suke pate habe mora sukha. Please give me your permission with great pleasure, and do not be unhappy. If you are happy, I shall be happy on my way to Vrindavana. Dvijanakkhaye tumi ishvara swatantra yeja se kariva naha parat Tantra. Upon hearing this, Ramananda Roy and Sarup Damodar Goswami replied, Dear Lord, you are completely independent. Since you are not dependent on anyone, you will do whatever you desire. Kintu amadunhara shunaika nivedane tamara suke amara sukha kahila apane. Dear Lord, kindly hear our petition. You already said that you will derive happiness from our happiness. This is your own statement. little bit of manipulation, spiritual manipulation. Amadunharamane tabe barasuka haya ekanivedana yaridara toyamaya. If you will please accept just one request, we shall be very, very happy. We'll hear what this request is. Uttama Brahmana Eka Sange Avashakchahi Vikshakari Vikshative Yave Hotravohi. O Lord, please take one very nice Brahmana with you. He will collect alms for you, cook for you, give you prasadam, and carry your water pot while traveling. So went up to 11, text 11, and we'll continue at that point tomorrow. Okay, so we are going to unmute. Give me a second, or allow you to unmute yourselves and ask some questions. Okay, now you are technically allowed to unmute yourselves. So does anybody have any questions? Either raise your hand, unmute yourself, or you can type in the text window. Up to you. Anybody have any questions? Going once? Going twice? Huh. Interesting. Rishikesh. All right, so what's the question?
Why did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu return back to Jagannath Puri after he went to Vrindavan? He could have just stayed there.
Why did he go back to Jagannath Puri after he went to Vrindavan? Well, the reason Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went back to Jagannath Puri after he left Vrindavan is because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood was to worship Krishna in the mood of separation, which is manifested to its fullest extent in the pastimes of Lord Jagannath at Jagannath Puri. Because Jagannath Puri represents Kurukshetra, at least during the Rath Yatra, Kurukshetra, where the gopis and the other residents of Vrindavan met Krishna. They tried to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan, and they were feeling so much separation. So it represents the mood of Vipralamba, which is Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching to us, that we should serve in the mood of intense hankering, intense separation. This mood is the highest stage of devotional service. So that's why, because Jagannath Puri.
Thank you, Gurudev.
So, Hare Krishna, here's one about Ravana. Oh my God, got Ravana here in the middle of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Did Ravana display his 10 heads all the time, or was it only manifested when he was in a battle or something? Ravana displayed his 10 heads when it was necessary and when he had to have a GBC meeting. Because each and every one of the 10 heads had a different type of expertise. Just like someone is expert in technology, someone is expert in cooking, I'm not saying one of the heads was a cook. That's not what I'm saying. But we all have different types of expertise, politics, Brahminical activity, someone's a politician. So Ravana had all these different characteristics. And one of the reasons he had all these different characteristics was that he had a mother who was a demon, Kekasi, and a father who was a Brahmin. So you got opposite sides of the spectrum there. Because a demon is lower than a Shudra, right? But a Brahmana is the highest one in the social order. So you have this contrast there. So he was a Brahman demon or a Brahma Rakshasa. That's why the demons actually arranged, this is an interesting story, the demons asked for Kekasi to go to Vishravas, who was Ravana's father, and to lure him, because Vishravas was a pure Brahman. And he was the father of Kuvera also, who was a treasure. I mean, if you got a kid who's so rich, you don't need anything else. And so he had purity, wealth, everything that you could possibly imagine. But when this demon lady, Kakashi, came to him and she made eyes at him, then he immediately deviated from his Brahminical behavior and got married and had some kids with her. Ravan, Kumbhakarna, Vibhishan, and that beautiful Surpanaka. So you see, actually, that some of his kids, at least one of them, had nice qualities. That was Vibhishan. And the other ones were a little challenged. Actually, Kumbhakarna knew better, but he was loyal to his brother. It's interesting, Kumbhakarna's relationship with Ravan can really be contrasted or compared with Lakshman's relationship with Lord Ramchandra. Because Lakshman always followed the order of Lord Ramchandra. In the same way, Kumbhakarna always followed the order of Ravana. You know, he sometimes objected, he preached to him, like Lakshman did sometimes too. You may say, when did Lakshman actually preach to Lord Ramchandra? Well, I'll give you one example. When Sita Devi was first kidnapped, Lord Ramchandra was so upset he was going to destroy the whole universe. He was really, really angry. And so Lakshman preached to him and made him cool down. We're going to find Sita Devi. So you find a similar type of loyalty that's there between Lakshman and Ram, and also between Kumbhakarna and Ravan. So anyway, getting back to the point about Ravan, he had all these different qualities. And so whenever there was a need to have some discussion, you had a 10-man committee. Like in ISKCON, sometimes we have 10-man committees to figure some things out. And Ravana had his own built-in 10-man committee. So when it was need, he could manifest these extra heads. I'm sorry. And when there wasn't a need, bloop, one head. And sometimes when he was very angry, fighting with Lord Ram, all the heads came out. And sometimes there was one head at a time, and they were cut off, just like when Ravan was performing austerities to Lord Brahma, and he was cutting his head off. Another head grew in its place. It just sprouted up. It's described that when Lord Ram was fighting with Ravan, he cut off Ravan's head like 1,000 times or 100 times, some humongous number, and the head kept growing back. Ravana and Kumbhakarna are Jai and Vijay. Some people say that Jagai and Madhya are also Jai and Vijay. That's all some of the acharyas state that. Prabhupada himself never said that. But some of the acharyas state that, and some of the commentaries. So we accept what the acharyas say. That Ravana and Kumbhakarna were Jai and Vijay, and Jagai and Madhya were Jai and Vijay, and Shupal and Dantavakra were Jai and Vijay, Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were Jai and Vijay. So, yeah, that's stated. That's stated. Although it's not in Prabhupada's books. It's actually stated by other acharyas about that. Anyway, so who else has a question? You can type, you can raise your hand, or you can unmute yourself. Oh, Mother Tulsi has a question, or Madhava.
Yeah.
Madhava, why don't you go first?
We can go.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So, in the 16th chapter, there are two words came, Niladri and Nilachala. So, these are two different things.
No, that's the same thing. They both refer to Jagannath Puri.
Oh, okay. I was confused. We were reading yesterday and these two words came, so I wanted to ask you. And so,
Yeah,
okay.
Niladri, Nila means like blue.
Yeah.
So Niladri and Nilachala are both just different ways of saying the same place.
Okay. So it
All
is
right.
it is further away from Jagannath temple.
No, that's Jagannath Temple is in Jagannath Puri.
Okay, okay. So it is in that place, Jagannath temple, in that area, location. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, it's
okay.
in Jagannath Puri. It's in
Yeah.
Nilachala.
Okay, okay.
Nilachala.
That is called Nilachala. Okay. Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay. Okay, Tulsi, you have a question?
Um, well, just before you finish the last few verses, couple verses, um, the Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Roy were very carefully approaching, excuse me, Lord Chaitanya, to make a suggestion to him. So it
Hmm.
seems like we need to be real careful when we're.
Yes. Yep. One has to be very careful when approaching a great personality or approaching especially the Supreme Personality of Godhead. What do we chant every morning? Padanvi Savadana Mate. Padanvi. Savadana means caution. Just like if you go to India, you'll see, well, of course it's in Hindi, you'll see Savadan on the road signs, and that means caution. But for those people in India, it means go faster. Yes, they translate it a little differently than normal Hindi. It means go faster and don't look both ways. That's really what's
And
happening.
here and here also, when it comes, red light is coming, we run fast for the light, right? That means
Yes.
fast.
Yeah, yellow, a
Yellow.
yellow light means go faster. It's like in India. Sabadan, caution. Okay, so one other question from Krishna Priya.
Jagure, please accept my obeisances. So we were speaking about, and we've talked about this a lot, about Lord Chaitanya going alone to Vrindavan. So, to keep the proper mood and to really be able to absorb and all the different examples that we spoke about. Then how do we reconcile? Also, we see that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I was like out of mercy to give people the experience of the Holy Dham, that they organize these like massive parikrams, or were those parikrams also a preaching strategy?
Yeah, it's a preaching strategy. It's actually a preaching strategy. See, there's nothing wrong with him doing that, but during those different parikramas, you can't really, at least I couldn't,
Yeah, I
and Lord
couldn't either.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu indicates you can't really enter really deeply into the mood of the Dham. It's more, I've seen this, it's more like a transcendental entertainment, which is spiritual. I mean, no doubt. I'm not saying it's mundane, but it's spiritual. But it's really it's preaching to bring people to Krishna consciousness, basically.
That's what I was reconciling, that it's like because now, they always have the big parikrams and Navad, well, they did before COVID, but the big parikrams in Vrindavan and Mayapur. So it's like a way for preaching, to let people
Yeah,
have that,
and so
and that
and some people by their nature they really like big crowds and rah 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 sis boom bop, and that's fine. They have to be. You have to engage those things in Krishna's service. Different people's nature. So that's part of it too. Some people just by their nature they're just like what is it called? The roar of the crowd, the smell of the grease paint.
smell of the grease paint.
Some people just really, like it by their nature. They're
The
like
big
proud.
megaphones and
Yeah, but to me, it's just like, oh my God, let me just sit down and chant the holy name and be absorbed. But I'm not criticizing it. It's not any worse or better or anything like that. It's just different strokes for different folks. But my personal experience is that when you really want to enter deeply into the mood of the holy Dham, it has to be at most a small group, and then time just to sit down and meditate. I mean, for example, when we do the Govardhan Parikrama, we don't just like run around and try to accomplish as much as we can in one day. We usually take 3 or 4 days to do the parikrama, stopping at each place, allowing people to catch their breath, and just like, quiet and calm. And then, not. Another thing with those really big parikramas that I've experienced is that there's a lot of exhaustion when you're finished every day.
Yeah, people get sick all the time.
I remember the first time I went to Brigham, we went all the way around Govardhan one day and tried to see everything, and like just kept going and going and going. Like part of the way through the second half, I was praying that it would be over. I mean, just be honest. It was just like it was an austerity, because it's just too much. And sometimes when you go to a holy place, it's just like you go, now there's this temple, there's this temple, there's this temple. And I said, I've been overdosed with temples today. You can't remember all the temples you've been to. So you can really get overloaded. Some people, they like it. Everybody has their own nature. So it's not a criticism. But with me, it's just like sensory or informational overload. And I just like that, Radha and Krishna, one set of deities, two sets of deities, all right. Govardhan, very
So
nice.
this like Golokananda, Radha Golokananda, and Giriraj, anything else is like too much for my brain.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. I remember I've been to some, and there's just like one temple after another. And I don't remember, after the day's over, I don't even remember where I've been.
No.
What to speak of, it's just like, just one temple, Of course, when I take devotees around, even when I take devotees around Radhakunda, of course, I know the temples there, and they get confused. I'm not confused because I've been around so many times, but they can confuse with all the temples. They don't remember what they've seen. I've actually seen that with the devotees, and we just do the Radhakunda Parikrama one day, and it's too much for some of the devotees. It's just like this temple, that temple, that temple. Okay, when is it going to end? When is it going to end? So I think depends on the person. But I like it when it's. Personally, it helps me to be more Krishna conscious when it's really slower and more meditative. And that was, of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mood too, and what Rupa and Sanatan advised. But Lord Chaitanya's goal, God. And so we have to have these big parikramas, to draw people in.
And we have big temples and big events, and even
Yeah,
though
big
they're like,
temples, and big events, and a lot of loud kirtans where I put my earplugs in or my headphones on. You know, but it's something for everybody in Krishna consciousness.
I had another question. Someone had asked like why Lord Chaitanya didn't stay in Vrindavan. So, like, if Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of Srimati Rani, but then Lord Chaitanya is Krishna in that mood, wouldn't it, like, being in Vrindavan might have just like been too much?
Yeah,
Like,
it was too much. Lord Chaitanya, actually, it's described that Lord Chaitanya, when you would read further, got too ecstatic, and it would have been dangerous for him to remain in Vrindavan. That's there in the Caitanya Charitamrta.
okay.
How should one prepare to go to Vrindavan for the first time? Usually go with an advanced devotees or be guided with an advanced devotee, not by yourself, obviously. And just to have the right mood, because there's a lot of things one won't understand, like all the pigs and the dirt, and all that is a veneer, that is a thin covering of yoga maya to actually keep people from seeing the real Vrindavan. Because to see the real Vrindavan, you have to have spiritual vision. Okay, so we're going to end now, and we'll see everybody tomorrow evening. Same time, same station. Saturday we'll probably be broadcasting from the field. because we're going to have some sort of Harinam in honor or to try to encourage world peace and help the devotees in Bangladesh. So that'll be a Saturday. You'll get, those of us who are local will get notice of that.